The Silent Queen's Takeover, a billionaire's humiliation. Stop! Have you hit the subscribe button yet? You won't believe the ending of this one. This story begins with a 6-year lie and the most shocking discovery a man could ever face. You're a nobody, sweetheart. An immaculate white linen napkin, embroidered with a single gold star, is crumpled in a trembling hand. A woman's sharp, arrogant voice is audible. It's over, darling. Don't you understand? You are a nobody. The camera focuses on a modestly dressed woman with a pale face, sitting across from a handsome man and his dazzling, cruel companion. The entire luxury restaurant is silent, watching. The man, her husband, only sips his wine. But before the humiliated wife can even speak, the owner of the restaurant appears, bowing deeply. Not to the husband, not to the mistress, but to the nobody, the wife, calling her his partner. The restaurant was called the Gilded Star, a temple of suffocating, silent wealth in Manhattan. Crystal glasses chimed with the sound of old money. Waiters, dressed in flawless white, moved like ghosts. And in the center of this opulent setting was Alicia Vargas, feeling like an understudy accidentally pushed into the leading role. She wore a simple navy linen dress. It was 10 years old, the dress she had worn on her first real date with Marcus, back when he was an ambitious associate with more charm than money, and she was a junior analyst who loved his laugh. Now, the dress felt thin, its simplicity a stark contrast to the diamond-adorned women at the surrounding tables. Tonight was their 15th wedding anniversary. Marcus had texted her that afternoon. The Gilded Star, 8 p.m. Don't be late. It was the first time in 3 years he had acknowledged their anniversary. Alicia's heart, a small, hopeful bird, had dared to soar. Maybe this was it. Maybe the coldness, the late nights at the office, the smell of expensive, unfamiliar perfume on his suits. Maybe it was all just a phase. Maybe he had finally seen the value in their shared history, in the calm, stable home she had built for him. She had spent her life becoming the perfect support system. When Marcus's firm, Thorn Industries, began to take off, she gave up her own promising career in finance at his request. "I need you, Alicia," he had said. "I need a stable base. You're my rock." So she became an immovable, quiet rock. And slowly, over the years, worn down by his growing indifference, he was the CEO, the rainmaker, the one who attended galas in Zurich. She was the one who managed the house, paid the surprisingly complex household bills, and volunteered at the local library. A nobody, as one of Marcus's flashy new friends had once whispered at a disastrous Christmas party, just loud enough for Alicia to hear. A waiter approached, his smile painfully polite. "More water, madam?" "Yes, thank you," Alicia said, her voice barely a whisper. His eyes flickered for a brief second to her bare wrists, then to the heavily gold-adorned arm of the woman at the next table, a certain Sinowara Valera, a city real estate titan. Alicia shrank a little further into her chair. She checked her watch. 8:15 p.m. Marcus was late. He was always late. She traced the tiny embroidered star on the linen napkin, the Gilded Star. She had always found the name pretentious, but she knew from the detailed financial reports she reviewed every quarter that this particular establishment was one of the most profitable in the Etheria Hospitality Group's portfolio. It was a detail she kept to herself, just like everything else. Her phone buzzed. It was Marcus. "Running late. Just arrived." A small, genuine smile touched Alicia's lips. He was here. She smoothed her dress, ignoring Ms. Valera's condescending glance. She wouldn't let anyone ruin this night. This was their night. The public humiliation. The grand oak doors of the restaurant swung open, and Marcus Vargas strode in. his immaculate suit and handsome face wearing the confident, dismissive mask he used for the world. But he wasn't alone. Clinging to his arm, with a familiarity that chilled Alicia, was a woman. Stunning. Tall, with cascading honey blonde hair, dressed in a red gown that looked sculpted onto her body. Her laugh was loud and sharp, echoing in the refined quiet. Alicia knew her. She had seen her in society pages. Serafina Reyes, an influencer famous for, in Alicia's estimation, being seen with powerful men. They didn't walk to the reception stand. They walked directly, inexorably, toward Alicia's table. The hopeful bird in Alicia's chest didn't just die. It vaporized. The blood drained from her face, leaving a cold, sharp numbness. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a business associate he was politely seating before joining his wife. This was a declaration. Marcus stopped at the table without even bothering to look Alicia in the eye. He was focused on Serafina, pulling out a chair for her. "Marcus." Alicia's voice was a dry crackle. He finally looked at her. His eyes, the same ones she had fallen in love with, were as flat and cold as slate. "Alicia, you're here." "It's our anniversary, Marcus," she said the words, tasting ash. Serafina let out a tinkling, cruel laugh. "Oh, it's today. How sweet. Marcus, you're such a sentimentalist." She settled back in the chair, her crimson clawed hand landing possessively on Marcus's arm. Marcus cleared his throat, adjusting his cufflinks. He was a man performing a necessary but boring business matter. "Alicia, I'm glad you're here. Actually saves me a phone call. Serafina and I are together." The restaurant, which had been humming with quiet conversation, began to fall silent. Nearby tables pretended not to listen, which meant they were hanging on every word. Ms. Valera had frozen her champagne flute halfway to her lips. "Together?" Alicia repeated the meaningless word. "Don't make it difficult," Marcus snapped, his voice low. "It's been over for years, you know that. We're just roommates. I'm filing for divorce." "He's filing for divorce?" Alicia's mind reeled. The prenup, the clauses. She had spent years meticulously structuring her life, her hidden life, around that document. A document that was unbreakable as long as she wasn't the one who filed. He had just made a terrible, terrible mistake, but the shock was too great for that realization to offer comfort. "Of course he's filing," Serafina interjected, her voice like shattering glass. She leaned across the table, her expensive perfume washing over Alicia in a nauseating wave. She looked Alicia up and down, from her 10-year-old dress to her sensible, low-heeled shoes. The disdain in her eyes was absolute. "Look at you," Serafina said, her voice echoing across the silent room. "Just sitting here, waiting for him. Did you really think he was going to celebrate with this?" She gestured toward Alicia. "He's telling you it's over, darling. You can't take a hint. He wants a woman, not a housekeeper. You are a nobody. Nobody." The word hung in the air, vibrating with cruelty. Marcus did nothing. He didn't defend her. He didn't even flinch. He just signaled a waiter. "We'll need another bottle of Veuve Clicquot." Alicia felt the tears coming, hot and sharp. She had been humiliated, discarded, and scorned in the most public way possible. She was a rock. Yes, one he had just kicked out of his way without a second glance. She fumbled for her purse. Her only thought was to leave, to run, to hide. The mask shatterer. "You are no nobody, Mrs. Vargas." The voice was new, deep, calm, and possessed an authority that instantly silenced even Serafina's petulant breathing. Alicia looked up, her vision blurred. Standing by their table was a man in an immaculate black suit. He was no waiter. He was older, with silver hair at the temples, and the sharp, intelligent eyes of a hawk. His name was Mr. Giros. Alicia knew him, but not from here. Marcus, annoyed by the interruption, looked up. "Excuse me, we're in the middle of something. Go fetch the manager." Mr. Giros's lips curled into a smile that held no humor. "No need. That would be me," Serafina scoffed. "Well, manager, we are having a private conversation. Go away and bring our champagne." Mr. Giros didn't move. He didn't even look at Serafina. His entire attention was on Alicia, and his expression was one of profound respect and something else, a cold, precise anger. "Mrs. Vargas," he said, bowing his head slightly. "I apologize deeply for this interruption. I did not realize you were dining in the main hall tonight. Your private dining suite is of course ready." Marcus stared, fork halfway to his plate. "Private suite? What are you talking about? She's with me." Serafina let out another grating laugh. "Oh, this is rich. Is this some restaurant policy? Pity the discarded wife?" "Don't bother, Giros. She was just leaving." Mr. Giros finally directed his gaze to Serafina Reyes. The temperature around the table dropped 10 degrees. His eyes were not angry. They were analytical, like a biologist studying a particularly uninteresting insect. "Miss Reyes," he said, his voice quiet, but slicing through the room. "You are a guest in this establishment. This woman," he gestured toward Alicia, "is not." Marcus, his wounded arrogance flaring, dropped his napkin. "Now look, I don't know what's going on, but I am Marcus Thorne of Thorne Industries. This is my date, Serafina Reyes. We are high-value clientele. This woman," he waved a dismissive hand toward Alicia, "is my soon-to-be ex-wife. She is a housewife, a nobody. She doesn't have an account here." "Oh, Mr. Thorne," Mr. Giros said, with a note of genuine pity in his voice. "That is where you are tragically mistaken." He turned back to Alicia, who was slowly, very slowly, emerging from her fog of shock. The numbness was being replaced by a familiar cold clarity, the one she used in boardrooms, the one Marcus had never, ever seen. "Madam," Mr. Giros said, his voice returning to one of pure professional deference, "you are paying for this man's champagne. Shall I have it removed?" The entire restaurant was now in stunned silence. Ms. Valera, the real estate titan, was staring at Mr. Giros with a look of sudden, dawning recognition. She knew exactly who he was, and it was clear he was no mere manager. "What? What did you call her?" Marcus stammered, his bravado finally giving way. "I called her Madam," Giros replied, "as is her title." "Her title," Serafina scoffed, though a small worm of doubt was now in her voice. "What is she? The queen of nobodies?" Alicia finally found her voice. It wasn't the shaky whisper from before. It was low, clear, and firm. "I am not," Alicia said, looking directly into the other woman's eyes. She placed her crumpled napkin on the table and stood up. As she did, Mr. Giros instantly, reflexively, pulled out her chair. It was a gesture of deep, ingrained respect. "Giros!" Marcus demanded, his face turning a blotchy red. "What is the meaning of this? Stop! Is this your friend? It's a joke. I'll have you fired for this." Mr. Giros actually smiled. It was a terrifying sight. "My job, Mr. Thorne. That would be complicated. You see, while I am the acting manager of the Gilded Star, it is only a very small part of my duties as the chief operating officer of Etheria Hospitality Group." Serafina's heavily contoured eyebrows shot up. Etheria? Even she knew that name. They owned 5-star hotels across the globe. "But my most important role," Mr. Giros continued, placing a hand on the back of Alicia's chair, "is to act as the right-hand man and public-facing executive for the founder, principal investor, and majority owner of our firm." He turned his body fully toward Alicia. "The real partner, Madam Alicia Vargas." The empire revealed. The silence that followed was so profound that the distant clinking of a plate from the kitchen sounded like a gunshot. Serafina Reyes's face, which had been a mask of petulant superiority, was now a comical O, frozen in disbelief. Her painted red lips were parted, her eyes wide. Marcus Vargas just blinked, looked at Mr. Giros, then at Alicia, then back at Mergiros. A short, sharp laugh burst from his lips. That's absurd. Alicia, my Alicia, owner of Etheria. She volunteers at a library. She handles the household accounts. This is the most ridiculous, elaborate joke I have ever seen. It is no joke, Mr. Thorne, Giros said. His calm was unassailable. Alicia, tell him, Marcus demanded, turning to her. Tell this waiter to stop. Tell him who you are. Alicia looked at her husband. The man she had loved, the man she had supported, the man who had just publicly branded her a nobody while sitting next to his mistress on their anniversary. He's right, Marcus, she said. Her voice was steady. I am the majority owner of Etheria Hospitality. Marcus's face went from red to a sickly pale white. What? No, that's impossible. Your inheritance. That was just a small-cap stock fund from your grandfather. It was nothing. A hobby. It was a $2 million seed fund, Alicia corrected, her voice as crisp as a new banknote, which I never touched. I let you believe it was a hobby while I earned my own finance degree, my own analyst experience, and became my grandfather's protege. Mr. Giros here and I founded Vargas Giros Holdings. Vargas Giros Holdings, Marcus whispered the unfamiliar name. We are a private equity firm, Mr. Thorne, Giros added, his tone positively relishing. We specialize in high-end hospitality and distressed commercial real estate. The Etheria Group is merely our largest, most public subsidiary. The Gilded Star is just, I suppose you'd call it, a personal project. A very, very profitable one. Ms. Valera, the real estate mogul at the next table, suddenly spoke, her voice booming with newfound respect. Vargas Giros, you're Alicia Vargas. The Vargas that snatched the St. Regis portfolio out from under my team last month. My God. Alicia bowed her head politely. Ms. Valera, a pleasure to finally put a face to the name. Your bid was very spirited. Ms. Valera stared from the unassuming woman in the linen dress to the apoplectic man and his gaudy mistress. She raised her glass. To A.V. Vargas. Marcus was reeling, his world tipping on its axis. But my company, Thorne Industries, I'm successful. I built that. I did. Yes, you did, Alicia said. You built a moderately successful logistics firm, but you've been over-leveraged for 2 years, Marcus. You've been making reckless expansion decisions, trying to finance a lifestyle you couldn't afford. How do you know that? He stammered. Mr. Thorne, Giros interjected. Who do you think holds the lease to your new corporate headquarters on Fifth Avenue? The one you signed last year to project success? And your company's primary credit line? The one that keeps you liquid, that covers your payroll every month, Alicia continued, her voice devoid of all emotion. Which bank holds that paper, Marcus? Metropolitan Merchant Bank, he whispered. A small boutique bank, Giros said. Acquired by Vargas Giros Holdings 18 months ago. We have been, Mr. Thorne, literally the only thing that has kept your company from imploding for the past year and a half. My partner, he nodded toward Alicia, is a very patient woman. Serafina Reyes's face had gone from disbelief to calculation. She was looking at Alicia with a new, hungry light. She slid her hand off Marcus's arm. So, Alicia said, pushing away from the table. While you were busy with the Reyeses, I was busy running an empire you live in, an empire you work in, and an empire that until tonight was subsidizing your entire life. The revelation hung in the air, dense and heavy. Marcus Thorne wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a fool, a kept man who didn't even know who was keeping him. But why? Marcus's voice was barely a croak. Why all this? This deception? For years. The library, the old car. You drive a 12-year-old sedan. It's a very reliable sedan, Alicia said coldly. And it doesn't attract attention. What's the point? She swiveled her gaze, sweeping the room. Then it settled back on him. I didn't do it to deceive you, Marcus. I did it to protect myself. And for a long time, to protect you. Protect me, he scoffed, a flash of his old arrogance returning. Yes, you insisted on a prenup when we got married, Alicia continued. You were the bigger earner then, from your father's firm. You wanted to protect your assets, and it does. It protects my assets, what you perceived as my assets, from being split about 50-50 if I filed for divorce for any other reason. The prenup is very specific. It has a strong infidelity clause. If you were proven unfaithful, you would forfeit any and all claim to my assets. The pieces began to click into Marcus's horrified mind. You knew, he whispered. You've known for how long about Miss Heiress? 6 months, Alicia replied. About the woman before her in Zurich, a year. I have photographs, bank transfers, hotel receipts. I have a very thorough legal team. Marcus wasn't a housewife, a nobody. He was a CEO collecting data. For 2 years, Heiress added. My partner gave you the opportunity to be honest, to be the man she married. She was waiting. I was waiting, Alicia confirmed, a flash of genuine sadness in her eyes. I thought if I held on, if I kept supporting your company from the shadows, you would find your way back. Tonight, this was your last chance, our anniversary, and you brought her. So what? Marcus tried to bluster. So you keep your little hobby fund. I'll be fine. Your company is my company, Marcus, Alicia said, her voice descending to ice. It is a house of cards, and Vargas Heiress Holdings is the table it sits on. You came here tonight to call me a nobody and end our marriage. You have just succeeded. But you didn't just end our marriage. You ended your career, the judgment. Serafina Reyes, who had been silent, suddenly saw her own future evaporating. The Fifth Avenue penthouse, the black card, the life she had signed up for. It was all tied to him, and he was tied to Alicia. Well, Serafina said, standing up and smoothing her red dress. She forced a dazzling smile toward Alicia. Alicia, madam, I have to say that is incredible. You are an inspiration to women everywhere. Marcus always talked about you, but he clearly didn't appreciate you. I can appreciate you. Alicia looked at the woman with slight disgust. I'm sure you can, but I'm not interested in your appreciation, Miss Heiress. No, you don't understand, Serafina said, moving closer, her voice descending into a conspiratorial purr. A man like Marcus is weak. You are strong. A strong woman needs, well, powerful friends. It was the most blatant flip in history, from mistress to sycophant, in 30 seconds. Alicia merely shook her head. You're right about one thing. He is weak. And so are you. Alicia's voice, now that it was finally unleashed, wasn't loud. It was worse. It was devastatingly quiet, precise, and devoid of all warmth. It was the voice of a surgeon announcing a terminal diagnosis. She didn't look at the broken, stammering man who was still technically her husband. She looked only at her chief operating officer. Mr. Heiress, Alicia said, her voice cutting through the stunned silence of the Gilded Star. Yes, madam, he replied, his own voice a perfect mirror of calm professionalism. Please contact our legal team, the senior partners. I want them woken up, if necessary. Inform them that the infidelity clause of my prenuptial agreement is to be invoked immediately. The lawsuit is to be on a judge's desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow. I want him out of the house by noon. Marcus's head snapped up. Infidelity. You can't prove... I can, Alicia said, cutting him off without a glance. "And I will. Out of the house? My house, Alicia. That's my house," Marcus stammered. "It is a house in trust," Heiress added, his eyes flickering to Marcus for a brief, cold second. "A trust of which Mrs. Vargas is the sole trustee. You are and always have been a guest, Mr. Thorne." The blood drained from Marcus's face, but Alicia wasn't finished. "Furthermore," she continued, "instruct the board of Metropolitan Merchant Bank. I want an emergency remote vote called within the hour. They are to demand the entirety of Thorne Industries' outstanding credit line, effective immediately." If Marcus had been pale, he was now the color of wet cement. This was no flesh wound. This was a killing shot. "No," he whispered, shaking his head as if to ward off a nightmare. "No, Alicia, no! You can't! That's my life's work, my company. If you do that, I'm ruined. I'll be bankrupt by Monday. Please, you can't do this." "The pretext, madam?" Heiress asked, ignoring Marcus's desperate, crumbling plea. "Breach of contract," Alicia stated, as if reciting a shopping list. "Public morality clause, Section 11B of his loan agreement. I'm confident his performance here tonight with Miss Heiress qualifies as bringing disrepute upon the company's principal debtor. He is a moral and financial liability. The bank must protect its investment, liquidate his positions to cover the debt." Alicia finally turned her head and looked at him. Her eyes weren't sad. They weren't angry. They were bored, as if he were a particularly dull quarterly report. Then she let her gaze drift to Serafina, who was frozen, her mind clearly racing, trying to calculate this new, terrifying reality. "And Mr. Heiress," Alicia said, her voice acquiring a new, icy edge of something almost like amusement. "One final matter. Reyes mentioned something about Marcus's sentimental nature. I feel sentimental too. I think I would like to own the apartment building she lives in." Serafina let out a tiny gasp. "What?" Mr. Heiress was already checking his device. "St. Regis Residences. Madam, we already own 40% of that building's holding company from last quarter. Buy the other 60%, Alicia commanded. "I don't care what it costs. Pay a 30% premium if necessary. I want it closed tonight. And then tomorrow morning, I want you to personally review Miss Reyes's lease agreement. I'm confident there's a violation, a noise complaint, an unregistered guest, a morality clause of its own. Find it and rescind her lease. I want her gone by the end of the day." This blow landed. Serafina's mask of calculated greed shattered, revealing the raw, creeping panic beneath. Marcus Thorne, the bankrupt fool, was worthless. But her home. This was the moment when Marcus's desperation broke into its final pathetic form. "Honey, listen to me," he said, his voice thick with a sudden, grotesque imitation of love. He lunged, trying to grab her hand. Alicia pulled it away before he could touch her. "Alicia, darling, it was a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake. She means nothing to me. You know it's you. It's always been you. I love you. I've always loved you. It was this final, pathetic lie that made Serafina explode." You love her!" Serafina's voice was a raw, ugly shriek. She pointed a shaking, red-clawed finger at the pleading man. "You just told me in the car you hated her, that she was a cold, boring housekeeper. Pathetic coward! Loser!" "Shut up, Serafina," Marcus roared, his panic turning savage. "You're ruining everything. Just shut up." "I'm ruining it?" Serafina let out a horrid, hysterical laugh. "I'm ruining it? You just sat there and let your wife ruin you. You are nothing. She's right. You're a nobody." "Stop!" Marcus screamed. Alicia watched the two of them, the mistress and the husband, tear each other apart like rabid animals. She let the silence stretch, her disgust a palpable cold aura. Finally, her soft voice silenced them both. "You don't love me, Marcus," she said. her voice clear and final. "You don't even know me." She looked at his desperate, sweating face. "You loved the idea of me. You loved the idea of a quiet, understanding, invisible wife who would never question you, who would fix your life and manage your home while you lived a bigger, more important life. You once told me a long time ago that I was your rock." She took a single step closer, and he flinched. The whole restaurant seemed to lean in. "What you forgot about rocks, Marcus," she whispered, "is that they are very, very heavy. And when one falls, it crushes everything beneath it." She straightened, a general dismissing a disgraced soldier. She then directed her gaze to Serafina, who was frantically, uselessly trying to fix her ruined makeup with a napkin. "You called me a nobody, Miss Reyes," Alicia said. "You were half right." She let the statement hang in the dead, silent room. "As of 9 a.m. tomorrow, I am officially no longer anyone's wife. I am not his." She gestured with her chin toward the broken man. "I am mine. And you are merely a temporary tenant in my building. Enjoy your last night." She had said her piece. The execution was complete. She turned to her COO. "Mr. Giros." Her voice was now crisp and businesslike. "Yes, madam," he said. "Please have security escort Mr. Thorne and Miss Reyes out. They are done, and they are disturbing the other diners." "My pleasure, madam," Giros said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He simply snapped his fingers. From a table near the bar, two large men rose. They were not wearing restaurant uniforms. The architect's legacy. The echo of Marcus's final, desperate cry was swallowed by the thick velvet of the gilded star. The grand oak doors closed with the finality of a vault. The silence that descended was absolute, a thick, heavy blanket of shock. For 3 full seconds, the only sound was the distant, nervous clink of ice in a water glass. Alicia stood alone, her small body rigid. She was still in the center of the room, the focal point of 100 pairs of eyes. She felt the gaze upon her, not as a humiliation, but as a judgment. And for the first time, it wasn't her being judged. Then, a single sound broke the stillness. A clap. It was slow, deliberate, solitary. It came from the next table. Ms. Valera, the real estate titan. A woman known for her iron will and for crushing competitors before breakfast had risen to her feet. Her face, framed by severe silver hair, was not smiling. It was a look of analytical, deep respect. She was not applauding a victim. She was acknowledging a predator. Clap. Clap. Her hands met again and again, and as if a spell had been broken, the man at the next table, a banking magnate Alicia knew by reputation, also rose, joining the applause. Then another table, and another. It was not the loud, messy applause of a theater. It was a rhythmic, stunned, and deeply respectful wave of acclaim that flooded the entire room. They were not applauding the nobody wife who had been saved. They were applauding the silent power that had just been revealed. Alicia, who had withstood the storm of her husband's betrayal without shedding a single tear, felt a sudden, sharp heat behind her eyes. This wasn't part of the plan. The plan was quiet, efficient, an extraction. This was a coronation. She straightened her spine, a movement that felt like she was shrugging off 15 years of weight. She let the simple 10-year-old linen dress hang on her. It was no longer a symbol of her meekness. It was a testament to her discipline. She met Ms. Valera's eyes across the small space and gave a small, controlled, regal nod. Ms. Valera stopped clapping and raised her glass. "Mrs. Vargas," her voice was clear. "Ms. Valera," Alicia replied, her own voice firm. Mr. Giros, who had been watching the scene with a look of immense, silent pride, stepped forward. "Madam, your car is at the private entrance. Thank you, Heiress, Alicia said. But first, please send a bottle of the Dom Perignon Euro 5 to every table in this room. With my apologies for the theatrics. It was unavoidable. Of course, madame, Heiress said. He turned to the nearest captain, who had been frozen in place, and gave the order with a simple flick of his wrist. The galvanized restaurant staff sprang back to life. Oh, Alicia added, turning to Ms. Valera's table. Please send a bottle of the Chateau Lafite 59 to Ms. Valera, with my compliments for her excellent timing. I look forward to future business. The use of her initials, AV, was a clear signal. The secret was out. The game had changed. Heiress placed a hand on Alicia's elbow, not to steady her, but to guide her. This way. He led her not to the main doors where her husband had been expelled, but through a discreet, unmarked panel in the wall, paneled with the same dark mahogany as the rest of the room. It opened to a luxurious, silent hallway, carpeted in deep burgundy. The chaos of the dining room vanished. As the door closed behind them, Heiress's demeanor changed completely. The respectful, deferential manager was gone. In his place was the sharp, efficient COO, her grandfather's protege, her mentor, and her most trusted partner. Alicia, he said, his voice brisk. I'm operational, Heiress, she replied, her voice cooling by the second, shedding the last trace of the wife and becoming the CEO. Ironclad protocol is go. The duty judge has already signed the restraining order. All assets are frozen. Thorn Industries is, for all intents and purposes, defunct as of 9:30 p.m. Alicia closed her eyes for a moment, not in pain, but in calculation. She remembered Marcus 15 years ago, all charm and ambition, promising her the world. She had loved him. Truly she had. But the man she loved had been eaten by the man he became. A shallow, arrogant creature who needed to diminish her to feel big. She had given him 2 years to find his way back. 2 years of rope. Tonight, he had used it to hang himself. And Heiress, Alicia said, her voice descending to absolute zero. The mistress, Serafina Reyes. Acquisitions. The St. Regis Residences. Yes, the entire holding company. I am authorizing a premium of up to 25% over market. I want it closed tonight. And as soon as the sale is final, find the morality and conduct clause in Miss Reyes's lease agreement. I'm confident there's a violation. Rescind it. Give her 24 hours. I want her literally on the curb. The Bentley Mulsanne did not go to the sprawling Georgian mansion that Marcus considered their home. It glided across the city, pulling into a private, guarded underground garage beneath a sleek, anonymous glass tower. The elevator opened directly into an expansive penthouse. It looked nothing like the house. This place was bright, airy, and powerful, minimalist, with glass walls offering a 360-degree view of the city. It was filled not with clutter, but with priceless modern art. This was Alicia's true home, the sanctuary he never knew existed. She stepped out of the elevator, and the 10-year-old linen dress suddenly looked like a deliberate artistic choice in the hyper-modern setting. Heiress was already there with a tablet in hand, a fresh espresso waiting for her on a marble console. Status, she said, taking the drink. Legal has filed the documentation. The duty judge has already signed the restraining order. All assets are frozen. Thorn Industries is, for all intents and purposes, defunct as of 9:30 p.m. The house, the locks are changed. Our team leader reported that Minterthorn was denied entry 20 minutes ago. He made a scene. Local police were called. He was admonished for trespassing and left on foot. Alicia took a sip. Good. And Miss Reyes? The St. Regis acquisition is complete. She has been served her lease rescission. She also made a scene. Let her, Alicia said, walking to the vast glass wall. She looked at the city lights. Her city. She had been invisible for so long, moving billions from the shadows, all while playing the part of the quiet, supportive wife. The mask had finally come off. Her tablet chimed an alert. Heiress looked at his. "Ah, it seems Ms. Valera works as fast as we do. She has officially withdrawn her bid for the waterfront project." Alicia turned, a small, genuine smile touching her lips for the first time. "She has? Good." Her senior assistant sent a secured message to my office, and I quote, "Ms. Valera has no interest in a bidding war with A.V. Vargas and would like to propose a joint venture instead." She also sent this, via courier to A.V. Vargas at this address. Heiress said, retrieving a single bottle from a hidden wine fridge. "A Chateau Lafite 59. Alicia let out a real, clear, musical laugh that echoed through the vast open room. It seems she speaks the language. An intelligent woman recognizes true power. Set up a meeting with her for Monday, Heiress. Send a case of the Dom Perignon UO5 in return. A gesture of shared theatrics. "Yes, Alicia, welcome home." Alicia nodded, taking another sip of her espresso, watching the city lights glitter like jewels. Her jewels. The old life was over. The real one had just begun. Final reflection and call to action. And so, Alicia Vargas proved that the loudest voice in the room is rarely the most powerful. While her husband and his mistress were busy performing for an audience, Alicia was the real partner, the owner of the entire theater. She didn't need to shout about her worth, because her success, built in silence and with precision, spoke for itself. In the end, it wasn't just a restaurant that belonged to her. It was her own life, which she reclaimed in one single, devastating move. What did you think of Alicia's incredible story? Have you ever seen someone so underestimated prove everyone wrong in such a spectacular way? Let us know your favorite part of this story in the comments. Did you see the twist coming? If you loved this video, please show your support by clicking the like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more real-life drama and powerful stories every week. We see you, and we appreciate you.